It's the Solar One Sci-Fi Podcast.
This is episode 130 of the Solar One Sci-Fi Podcast. I'm Michael Ball, and I'm joined once again by the infinite knowledge of wisdom, the sci-fi demigod, all the way from London. It is Mr. Martin Fowler, by the gods of science fiction. Hello, Martin.
Hello, and how is everybody this week?
Very well, thank you. It's February, with the build-up to Star Trek Picard is now getting close. I want to talk to you about that.
Is that I thought it was this week, isn't it?
No, it's next week. Week to go.
Oh, is it? Right, okay.
Yeah. But I'm hearing some really interesting reviews about it.
Yes,
some people. Yes. So before we quickly talk about that, how's your week been? How have you been?
It's been it's been all right. It's not been a bad week. The weather's changed.
I know. I don't know about you, but the weather's been lovely down here. It's gorgeous sunshine.
It's stunning, eh?
Cold, but it's lovely. You can't go wrong in
blue skies today.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, do you prefer it being brighter and colder, or sort of like wetter or mild?
Well, I'm more of a summer person, but I like it when it's like this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't stand winter, but if you have the two options in winter, I think I prefer it colder and brighter than warmer and wetter.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
warm and wet. As you were. Anyway, let's not divulge in that particular sentence of words because it sounds a bit dodgy. Now, so Star Trek Picard, it's released in just over a week from us for this recording, and there are some people who have managed to see the first several episodes, the special promotional previews to get the word out. Now, I follow quite a few people like Dave Cullen on YouTube, a few others, and I have to say that from what I've heard of it, from everybody who's talked about it, they've all said that it's absolutely, really, fantastic. They're really, really speaking highly about it. I've heard lots of stuff. I've heard that there's going to be a death in episode 9, but that might not happen. I don't know. So what have you heard? What's perspective from your end?
Well, I've heard it's had good reviews.
Exactly.
And the stuff I read, apparently it's very good. It's like next gen, but upgraded.
Yeah.
You know, there was that test audience, wasn't there? The mysterious test audience that got to see all 9 episodes and watched it all, and they're not allowed to say anything about it.
I know one thing. Well, I'm making a guess here. This is very early. We're going to see the Enterprise F, NCC 1701F, briefly. It's not going to be the main ship, but it's going to feature. And I'm telling you, I know who's going to be the captain of the Enterprise F.
Maybe Worf.
No, it won't be Worf. Do you know who I reckon it will be? And I'm going to say this to you now. And if I'm right, I'm going to play this at the end of the season, right? It is going to be Captain Harry Kim of the Starship Enterprise.
Oh, Harry Kim?
It's going to be Harry Kim. It's got to be.
Why would you go there?
Because he was always the ensign in Voyager. Wouldn't it be the bestest twist to make him the captain of the Enterprise F? As a special
thing? Have you heard this somewhere?
No, I've made it. No, I've made because I've heard that there might be some characters.
He was in the Delta Quadrant for 7 years, and everyone's got promoted.
Yeah, and he's got back to the Alpha Quadrant now with the rest of them. So why couldn't he not?
Been an ensign for 7 years. I thought you meant to climb up the greasy pole.
Yeah, but he's been back in the Alpha Quadrant for 20 years since Voyager ended.
Well, he might be. Well, I suppose but don't like to fast track captains that big jet.
Oh, 7 of 9 is going to be a commander of all things, and she's only just joined Starfleet. So that she's already a commander, which I think is a bit weird. But whatever.
Harry Kim.
Yeah, I reckon. So if you watch that episode and you see it's the Enterprise calling, and then on the open channels the view screen goes, and it's Captain Kim. I'm sorry, it's going to be Captain Harry Kim. I honestly, I'm not a betting man, but I will bet.
Why
on that?
Why Harry Kim?
Because I think it's the Voyager was always this kind of thing where Harry Kim would never get promoted. He was ensign from episode 1 to episode 26 of season 7. He never got anywhere. And I just think that the fans will think that's hilarious. That the ultimate ensign, the ultimate person who was always in the back doing the crap, never getting any recognition after all he did for 7 years on the bridge of the Voyager, is finally promoted to captain. And the captain is going to be is the Enterprise F. That's what I reckon.
Harry Kim.
Yeah.
Harry Kim. fucking useless, man. Just stood behind that table like for 7 years.
I watched the episode the other day when he was lusting after a holodeck character, and he was feeling her thighs, and he said, "There's a knot in her thighs."
Yeah, I like the one when he's with 7 of 9. She picks up and he's eyeing her up.
And she goes, "You wish to copulate?"
Yeah, a guy had many files on human sexual, and he's like absolutely terrified, isn't it? She's so straight to the point about it. It's not.
I know.
A problem,
No,
is it,
no,
you
it's
know?
okay. I'm interested in.
Well,
yeah,
he's I mean, I like Harry Kim.
I like Harry Kim.
I've never disliked the guy.
No, I've never disliked him either. I just think it'd be a irony if he was the captain of the Enterprise F. I reckon that. Okay, so I've told the world today I do not know anything about this new season. Although I do know that there is going to be some fan service, so I think there might be some crossovers with DS9 and Voyager. I do think that's going to happen. So
I think they wouldn't surprise me if Kate Mulgrew turns up in this.
I've checked that. Apparently, it's the one thing because she's associated with the Prodigy series. Apparently, the executive producer, I can't remember his name, has said that she will not be in Enterprise in Picard season 3. That's it. But that's the only one, and obviously. I don't think Cisco will return.
I read that this is going to open the series to something else, though.
I think they're going to see how it goes. But
then we're going to make some sort of new crew members
but the
that
guy
it could lead on.
What's his name? What's the guy that's running it this year? Because he's going to be the new Rick Berman. He's the guy that gets Star Trek. Even though I like Strange New Worlds.
Well, Kurtzman, he's on his way out.
No, not Kurtzman. No, not that Muppet. He's a twat.
I think they're getting rid of him.
No, good. What's his name? Star Trek Picard. I can't remember the executive producer of season 3. It's annoying me now. Season 3. Oh God, can't find it. What's his name? I keep hearing it, but I can't remember his name. But as I'm finding it, I mean, I think that he's the one that'll be running it. Season 3.
I think it should be Worf who should be captain of the Enterprise. No, it should be Worf. If it is Harry Kim, right, I will be stunned if that comes right.
I just got a feeling.
Why would they? Yeah, but yeah, he was the captain though, wasn't he?
He was in the last episode. He was the captain.
So that time travel thing, and wasn't he captain of a starship or something?
Yeah, a Nova class ship, the one that was in the end helping Janeway get to the future. I can't remember the name. I can't find the guy.
Yeah. And they made his uniforms. So what?
Yeah, and because I like the fact that the future always had the same uniforms, and the comm badges in Picard are very similar to the future comm badges.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really nice time for continuity. It was like so I don't know. I think I'm really excited about this. And then it's about 2 weeks after it's The Mandalorian season 3, which I cannot wait for that. So I mean, you know, I keep watching the odd episodes of that series. I just love it. I think it's.
I can't get enough of that.
I think it's one of the best series I've seen in decades. It might be.
I heard rumours, and actually I've not caught the Side Trek popped up on my recommended list, and I've not watched it. I forgot about it, so it's just coming to my head now.
What's that?
Apparently, what it said in his JPEG, Space Above and Beyond could be coming back.
Well, there's a lot of Sidetrek's very good at talking about all this, and shout out to Sidetrek and Jay because he's a really nice guy and he's been on the show recently.
He's a great guy.
He's been talking about all sorts of things. Like they're talking about if Stargate comes along, is it going to be like a movie, kind of like reboot movie of some sort? Will it be a TV show? Everyone agrees that we want a continuation of SG-1s or Atlantis or that era, and it might not happen.
There was, thinking about like that, if Stargate comes back, they've already got the protagonist in the protagonist is already there. They could use.
Who's that?
It's so simple. It was so you didn't think about it. The Ashen.
Oh,
2010.
Yeah, or what
you
about
know
the race?
Ashen Confederation?
Or the race that appeared in one episode of Atlantis, in the one where it basically they're on the Daedalus, or is it Daedalus and the one Atlantis? What's the one in the yeah, because the Odyssey is the one in SG1, and they're on this ship which is from a parallel universe. It keeps jumping to parallel universes.
Yeah, they were going to do something with them.
And there was this race which were a bit like the Borg. They seemed like a bit like the Borg, and I've got the feeling they could come back because they. But I think the Shen were very clever because
I think because they've got a massive confederation, even though they are they're isolationists.
But they're very patient, though. They don't invade.
That's what I mean. And
would that make them a good antagonist?
I think. All right, Earth's now got the technology, and they're expanding out, but they're still in the early stages of building something. You know,
it could be anything. I mean, they could make the Furlings come back.
They're established, aren't they? They've been around for a few, and the technology is incredible.
But the Shen have only appeared in 2 episodes, 2001 and 2002.
But they're a very isolationist race, but they have a confederation, don't they? You know, how many worlds is in that confederation? Maybe they could be, and they are bloody sneaky. You know, I mean, that got revealed about them, didn't it? And, you know, I'm just saying, I was thinking that if you're going to bring anything back, they would make it interesting with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, but that's me. You know, because I thought instead of inventing, because since the Gold Empire went down, I mean, there's probably 1 or 2 knocking about out there, but there is a massive power vacuum now.
Yeah, but it's been a long time, though. It's been 20 years since the
20 years
defeated,
is a long time.
So we don't know what the nature of the Milky Way galaxy will be.
Don't forget, they gave them dialing gates to them coordinates, and it led to places where you won't want to go. And maybe they went somewhere, they opened, and they sent some Shen through, and they were all massacred on the other side. So that brings the Shen out of their isolation into retaliating, you know, when they went through one of them.
Do you know what? I always thought that if I were to write a Stargate series, I would invent a huge ancient Stargate hub. And it'd be a massive, massive thing, and it's literally each
the
gate
Alpha Gate.
but each gate goes to a different galaxy. So you get
somewhere
one to the Pegasus with Atlantis, and then it'd be one to the one where the
you make it go bigger than that.
I mean, it could be something really massive. And I could see the crew, or a bit like DS9. It'd be on a starbase, or not a starbase, but it'd be an ancient starbase with all these different Stargate.
Well, it'd be like the Expanse with all them holes. Leading
yeah.
This is all over. There's
similar to that. Yes,
millions of them.
Yeah.
And you just stood there. It's like they're all just hovering above each other.
Yeah, I think that's what I would do if I was writing it.
It's like the Alpha Hub, and you can get to any, and that's how you get them back from the universe as well.
Yeah, they could do, because they could go anywhere.
You make the connection,
because it's an ultra powerful thing. So
it's the Alpha Gate, isn't it? The mother of all gates, the nexus point.
Yeah, I think that. And maybe there's some. I mean, I don't know what the power source would be. It'd have to be some huge power source.
Something like a sun. It'd take a star just to, you know, like a giant.
Yeah, because I think planets have powered them before, haven't they? But if it was like
but this is next level.
Connected to a star or something, it's actually literally. Yeah, I can see that.
This is next level up. Then you're talking like, you remember what the Borg had with the Transwarp hub?
Transwarp conduits and
the
actual hub. Yeah,
something like that. The Alpha Gate or something.
I can see that happening.
No, you get this, you can conquer anywhere. I mean, this you know, just. Like, it's like the gateways on Star Trek. You remember, is it the Iconians?
The Iconian gateways, which were appeared in DS9 as well.
In gate form. Form, you know.
Well, the Iconian gateways are very much like Stargate.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So you've got millions, or a place where you can access any gate in the universe. You know, it'd be interesting.
Actually, I wonder if the Iconians appeared in season 2 of Next Gen, which would have been about 1988. I wonder if part of that might have been influenced by Roland Emmerich and everything when they created the Stargate series, the Stargate original movies, because there were some real parallels there with the Arcane.
The Iconians, I don't play it, but I've seen clips. They're in Star Trek Online.
Oh, I don't play those games, but I didn't know that. Okay,
I've seen clips, but but is Star Trek Online canon? I don't know.
Well, it's half and half. I mean, the ships are now featuring in Picard, which is a nice time, but I don't really count.
Have you started watching Prodigy yet?
I've seen the first one or two. And I have got the first season. I am going to watch it.
Man,
I don't particularly fancy it though myself.
I tried watching it overnight. We're gonna like give it a look, and
They keep singing
I
their
think
praises.
pilot
for it.
episode were 45 minutes or something, and I thought I just couldn't. I thought.
No, I know.
Couldn't
I'm
be
the
bothered
same.
with it.
I'm not into animated stuff. I did watch.
But
Like I
I'm
said,
like you. I
did watch the
like
Star
certain
Wars.
things.
I watched the Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars. I thought
Yep.
they were okay. I've only watched them once. I've no intention to watch them again.
Never got into Bad Batch.
I tried the first stuff. I lost that as well. I gave up on that same as you. I'm sorry. I'm old-fashioned. I like live action. I'm not really into animated stuff. It's just the other one, Lower Decks, it's good. I've got a good sense of humor, but it's Star Trek Simpsons. It doesn't quite work.
Yeah, that's
Prodigy, I think is probably good. It's aimed for a younger dynamic, but apparently it can also be appreciated, shall I say, by the fans.
Yeah.
I don't particularly. I will watch it at some point, but I don't really like animated series. I'm sorry, I'm 50
No,
now.
I'm in and out with it. Has Quantum Leap back? Is that actually back?
I watched it. I've not seen it, but apparently it came back in I think after Christmas. So there's not a few more.
Okay.
I will look at seeing some more of those. I
I've
did
not
like
seen
it,
it
but I've
yet.
got out of the habit of watching it. So
Yeah.
I will try and go back to that. But The Last of Us is the one I'm watching now with.
Oh, my mate's watching that. He said it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's very good. The episode 3 was a very pro. It was a love story, but it was a gay love story, and I'm not a big fan of gay love stories. Not against gays. It's just something which I always see the tick boxing when you have these things which go that direction. But it is a very solid series. It's well made. The first 2 episodes are very, very solid. Very much. It reminds me of The Walking Dead. But it's not The Walking Dead, and it's very post. I recommend you give it a go. The first episode's quite interesting.
No, I'm going to give it a go.
Give it a go. It's worth the watch. I know it's not quite your forte. It's slightly out of it, but give it a go. You might really, really
No, I
impressed
will
with
do.
it. Right.
I will do.
Now, I think at this point, before we go into the topic of the week, the infamous Zoom has only got a few minutes left. So what we'll do is we'll fade out, we'll come back in,
Yeah.
and then we'll go into our movie review. So we're going to go into our movie right now. Here we go.
It's the
Solar Sci-Fi.
focus of the week.
Right, so this week we are talking about a film which I was well aware of. I might have seen it a very, very long time ago, and I only saw it the other week because, first of all, it stars Robert Duvall, who I've seen in a few other things. And this is a very strange film because I was looking at the review of it, and it says here that this film is described as a social science fiction film. So straight away, that's a very strange way of actually explaining what the film is in respect of what it's about. So this is THX 1138 or 1138 or whatever you want to pronounce it, 1971, and it was co-written and directed by George Lucas of all people in his directorial debuts, and produced by Francis Ford Coppola. Coppola.
Yeah.
And also, and it's got Robert Duvall, Donald Pleasance is in it, and a few others. So let's just quickly, because you're the person. Every time I talk to you about any film, you've seen it, and I always love your opinion. So tell me what you thought of THX 1138, and we'll go from there.
What, THX? THX is an interesting one. It was made before Logan's Run.
Right.
And you can see the...
Inspiration for it.
You can see that it's quite similar.
Yes.
It's about a man that lives in a society where you're not allowed to have, be an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's a number and it costs money and stuff, and he's having thoughts and he wants, it's and it's about his fight.
Right.
Against, he won't conform to their worldview. They all live underground. Everything's got a purpose. It's like an ant's nest. Everybody has a designation.
You're just part of the system. You're plugged into the system.
Yeah.
It's like the way I saw it, I mean, it was definitely, as you say, inspired. Well, Logan's Run was inspired partly by this, and of course the other one, which this film must have been inspired, was George Orwell's 1984, because that's the film. When I watched it, was the film I thought, oh, this is just so like the movie version with Richard Burton. Very, very similar parallels to that.
Yeah.
So do you regard it
On
highly?
the island as well.
The island, I need to see the island. I've not seen the island yet.
It's quite good, actually. You'll enjoy it. It's not bad.
So, I mean, again, another parallel at the end of the film, spoilers, is the scene where Robert Duvall's character actually escapes and he sees the sun. And of course, that was automatically done exactly the same in Logan's Run when they get out of the. So I could see how there were some. But this film was pretty dark. I mean, it was.
I know. It said.
Oh, he's gone. He's frozen up. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, God.
The film's genius, but. Oh, you frozen.
Yeah, that's right. You're back. You're back. Sorry, you're back
now.
Yeah, you're back.
Right.
Go on. Carry on what you're saying.
Right. No, the film is it's in science fiction circles. The film is classed as a piece of genius artwork, and it is. It's his first film. It is absolute genius, and I think he had a low budget, and I think what he did was absolutely incredible. Really was. And the message is it's like The Prisoner. You know.
Again, yes, yeah, that's right. It reminded me of that as well.
You're saying parallels there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's been Twilight Zone stories and Outer Limit where they've had similar story about an individual, and that's what's great about this film. I love the robots that have no emotion, like the Guardians or whatever.
Yeah, the police officers, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what they were doing. They're building robots, weren't they? That was one of the main sort of things, and they were really hard to make. And that was what. Well, I mean, I don't know whether it wasn't really going into it whether the robots were eventually going to be taking over. Because that's the way I saw it. Because they were, I don't know why, but it was very, very hard to make a robot, which normally were police enforcement droids. I suppose that's the way you could actually. But I wondered whether there was more. It could have gone on if Duval hadn't escaped the system. You know, I just wondered whether there was more about a point where, because we've seen this many times, like in Terminator and stuff, where you have humans and then you have the beginning of AI and then you have robotics, and eventually robotics becomes more dominant and the humans become more submissive and more in the background. And I wonder whether this potentially could have been another one of those stories where humans are building these really, really sophisticated robots which are really hard to make. And if it continued, or that storyline, whether eventually the robots would then start to be able to make their own robots and humanity could have fallen by the wayside, kind of thing. I know it didn't go that direction, but I was just making...
Yeah, I agree. I totally concur with all your points. I watched it about a year ago. I bought the special edition a couple of years ago, and I watched it a couple of years later. First time I saw it, we were on Movie Drone or something.
Yeah, Movie Drone, yeah.
And that's when I was sort of introduced to it.
Right.
And it was all right, you know. I mean, to be honest, I was slightly bored by it because I'd seen. I know it was made in '71. Robert Duvall's in it. Francis Ford Coppola,
yeah.
Director, and Lucas and his first film project. All superb stuff. That's why you get THX sound and all that. It's all from this film.
Oh.
And
really?
When you're in the cinema and you see THX.
Now that's interesting. I never made the link.
Yeah, that's what it's from, because he created THX.
Oh my
God. Didn't he, I think?
I never thought that. That's really...
And you notice in his films, when you watch his films, you get THX pop up before the film.
Oh, because he created the thing.
That's one of the
there we go. You see, I learn something from you every week. That's brilliant. I didn't know that. That's great.
I'm not trying to, honestly, it's just...
No, that's really interesting. I love that. I've seen THX. I never made the link with THX. Okay.
The film is good. What I found wrong with it, now I'm into this all like when he's with that woman and he can't have sex with her because you've got to get a license. Weird and all that.
Yeah, it was a bit weird, that bit. Yeah, I thought it was a bit weird.
And he's having this like rebellion going on inside his head, and they're trying to get in his head and all this. And then the best bit is the escape. Because you go into like a room with people and it's costing money, and he gets beyond a certain point in that racing car,
Yeah.
and it gets out, and they suddenly say he's not worth the money.
No, and then
because
they decide to sort of like forget it. It's not worth asking.
and he gets out, and that's where the film where he stands in front of the sun. But I found the film it was lacking something like.
Was it pacing? Was it pacing that was the issue with it, or
no? There were no backstory.
Like?
No, there were no backstory for it. Why was society like that? It would have been nice to know why they're all living down there and why it's like it is with the robots and him getting out. Well, I would have liked a bit more.
My door's ringing. Sorry, my front door's ringing, but I have to ring because I'm sorry I'm talking to you. I'm on the podcast. I'm getting annoyed with this now. Carry on what you're saying.
I would have liked a bit more of a backstory, you know. And I agree with you. I think there should have been a bit more. I know that's like the moment of freedom in the film where he stood in front of the sun. That's meant to be I've broken free, you know, but I just found the film lacked some. Maybe it's today, maybe 30 years ago, when I was in my 20s. You know, it might have been, wow, this is a piece of genius. Probably back then I'd have thought that. But looking at it now, I don't think it holds out that well. I could be wrong. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I did enjoy it, and again, I was referred to 1984, which I thought was a really strong parallel with that. But likewise with 1984, it's something which I would like to see, but probably not on multiple occasions or not regularly. I think when I see it again the second time in the future, I mean. It's kind of like what you already said, that it gave a lot of questions, but it didn't give you a lot of the answers.
Yeah.
And perhaps that is where you're correct in one of the major flaws in this movie, where, I mean, you look at Logan's Run, for instance, it did give you a lot of answers as to, well, it didn't give it all the answers, but it gave some more answers, I thought. There was more of a... You know what I mean? That how
because
society...
when they left the Dome City, you saw the ruins of Washington.
Yes, and then this.
There's the story there. And
I saw how they had this thing. They were living for 30 years. But this film, it was just we're in a society where you are almost like a sort of like a battery in one part, and you're providing and you're literally just doing your small part for the greater whole. That's what it is. There's strict regulations, but how it all actually manifested and changed from the society. Because, of course, wasn't it set as well like in the 1980s or 1970s or something? It was actually set not that far away from our society.
Oh, right, really?
I don't know. I might be wrong, but I seem to remember that it wasn't set that far in the future. Because I think Logan's Run was set in the 23rd century. But I can't remember. I'm just looking at... Let me have a quick look at the actual information on here. Wikipedia. Let's have a look. So it just says... Let me give the synopsis. It says, in the dystopian future, sexual reproduction is prohibited, whereas the use of mind-altering... Oh, yeah, it's all about mind-altering drugs as well, which is interesting.
There are a lot of films like that back then.
But that was back in the 70s reference, the 60s.
That's what I'm saying, like.
And this is what you said about it being a slightly arty-farty kind of thing, because
it
had that.
It is.
You know what I mean?
So a hardcore sci-fi fan, somebody who's really into like the intelligentsia stuff, this film's a masterpiece. To some people, and I've met them, this is the greatest film that were ever made.
Yeah, well, I certainly don't agree with that. I like it, but it's certainly not. It was an enjoyable film, but I don't think, as you say, do you think it's a film that maybe has suffered as time gone on? I mean, do you think it might have...
I go with what... I mean, is this your first time seeing it then?
I might have seen it, but if I had, it was decades ago. I can't really remember it. This is why I wanted to review it with you, because it was fresh in my mind. I knew you probably would have seen it, and obviously had seen it. And it's nice to see a film fresh in your memory, especially a classic movie, which you might not be familiar with. So this is why. You know what I mean?
It's a classic because it's George Lucas. That's why it's got its reputation, because it's George Lucas.
So basically, it's partly only well known now because it is a George Lucas movie.
Do you remember? There's another film John Carpenter did. He was a student because they all went to the same place. Coppola and Lucas and
Yeah, they're all
Cameron
associated together. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
and Carpenter. Carpenter did that film. I forgot what it was called, with the beach ball jumping about.
Oh God, that weird one.
Forgot. You know which one I'm on about?
I've
And
got it.
the
I've got it.
They're blowing up planets because they're in worse. Do you remember? I
Not
forgot
Dark
what it's
Matter.
called.
Not Dark Matter. What was it called?
Dark Star.
Dark Star. That's it. I was close. Well done.
Well, I always I think THX is at that level. Because that were like, it'd come
similar
out of
time,
film
similar,
school,
early
got
in their
raised the
careers.
budget,
Yeah.
got friends in, like Duval, obviously starting his career. And they all worked on this project together, and because it took him quite a while to film this thing, but they got it off the ground. It got released, and it did develop an audience. Now with all the acid heads and all this back in 60s or 70s, all that psychedelic and all, this film will have gone down like a masterpiece. But today in 2023, I think it still holds. Its message is very powerful, but I just think the film lacks something now. I saw it in my 20s. I saw a movie drama, I think, the first time. And it was on a double bill with someone else, and Alex Cox, he thinks it's
So it would have been in the 90s you would have seen it then, probably.
Yeah. And if I had seen it before that, I was a kid. I was young. I won't have remembered it. But it was. I was a different person back then. But I thought this is interesting because I was young, and because we're like similar ages now. I just think we want to. I just look. I'm not knocking the film. I think the film, its message about being
Interesting.
an
It's got an
individual is
interesting
very
message.
powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Have you seen Brazil?
That's another one I mean to see.
Brazil's like that's like mind
Yeah,
your language,
it's like-
but that's a super head
Isn't that
dinger,
also?
that.
Isn't that like a Clockwork
But that's
Orange?
about the individual.
Isn't the Clockwork Orange similar as well? Kind of like that sort of
I've
like.
not seen that in years, mate. Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
but
That's
it's-
another one
yeah,
I've never
yeah,
seen,
yeah.
but it's that sort of like context of those sort of a group of films.
Yeah, it's-
all into
yeah,
that
you're on-
category.
Well,
Is that
now
right?
on that path, yeah.
That's what
yeah,
I'm thinking.
These,
Yeah,
these films that it were always about the individual against the state.
about the state
or,
and their own interpretation.
mind
and
control.
their,
and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what
I
I'm saying.
think they're still prevalent today, these films, but I just don't. For me, THX, it just don't resonate like it used to do.
No.
For me, I mean, it might do for you. I mean,
No, I liked it. It was something where it was like, oh, that's all right. It was like that. That's the way I did think. Oh wow, what a great concept! Because, as you say, if it had actually given a bit more of an answer to the scenario as to the way it was created, it might have actually had a stronger factor for me in enjoyment. But I did like it. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't love it. That's the way I say it. So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you know,
I think it's one to have in the collection.
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. It's like having 2001, and we've covered that. And the sequel. I think we've done the sequel.
We've done both. We've done both the 2000s. Yeah, we have
both
done both.
masterpieces of movies, but some people prefer the sequel to the original.
The sequel is a bit more audience friendly. It's a bit more kind of like accessible to not just specific sci-fi fans. I like both. They're both very different from each other. I rate them both equally because they're so different from one another. Although they are.
That's what's so good about it, because the second film is so different
really
to
good.
the first.
Yeah. I really
So
like both.
it stands out on its own.
Yes.
But THX, I think, I mean, could you go back and remake it? You probably.
Well, I suppose one of my last questions, because I think we'll wrap up this one soon, is: do you think that it could have had some sort of sequel? It might have actually enhanced it if it actually had one set where he escaped, or other people had escaped from the actual underground dwellings and what was going on outside, and it might have had reinforced the original because of the confusion of what was going on.
It would have been nice to have seen something outside.
And I thought we were going to. When we saw the sun.
I get the old metaphor of him stood in front of the sun. I really do get that. But it would have been nice to have had like a woman or a child stood there, just looking at him. You know, like
somebody else who'd escaped the system, and they've now got
they
to
just live there. Yeah,
Yeah.
outside. They don't have to sail.
We didn't see anything.
people
We just
stood
saw the
there.
sun. We just saw the sun setting. That was all we saw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been nice to have seen that.
Well, I suppose it's time to give the film a rating. I would probably give it 6.5, 7 out of 10, maybe.
I'm gonna, I was thinking 7. I'm gonna, and why I'm gonna give it a 7, because it is a classic.
Yeah.
And it has a fan base, but it's not something I'd go back to. I'd watch it probably once every 3 to 4, 5 years.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same. I think it was worth a review, definitely on the podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely, and it's been interesting to sort of talk about it. But if you're into hardcore intelligentsia science fiction, this is definitely one to have in the collection.
Absolutely. If you like 2001, then this would be right up your alley.
Yeah.
And also 1984 is another one which I think is very similar as well. I don't know which out of those two I prefer, actually. I'm not sure. They're both very similar. They're both very dark, but that's another story. All right. Thank you, Martin. I think that's pretty much it. Any ideas what you want to review next time? I mean, we can't review Picard yet until it's finished, but we can talk about it when it starts, which will be the week after next. Do you want to, because we've not done, how about, because you're a big Marvel fan, what about if we did the first, what's the one, give me some Marvel films, I'm trying to think of the first one, Iron Man. Would you want to?
Iron Man, you want to do Iron? Well, I'm up for Iron Man if you want.
Well, I know you. I mean, I do like Marvel. I'm not as huge a fan as you are, but it's just that Iron Man was one of the first, and it was just a interesting story of a man with technology.
Iron Man was it was interesting backstory with Iron Man.
Well, then I think that's something that you might enjoy doing.
If that had flopped, Marvel wouldn't have existed.
So I think as a sort of Marvelian, if that's the right term for you, I thought you might want to do that one. So you up for doing that next week?
Yeah, that'd be cool. It's a bit of a neutral one, but yeah, I'm up for that.
Yeah, and then I'm not sure what we're doing yet, but I mean, obviously there's always something coming up, isn't there? So that'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right, Martin, thank you very much. I'm going to leave with something I watched over the weekend. It's very funny, and it was. Did you ever hear of a comedian called Victor Lewis Smith?
No.
All right. Well, he did a show back in the 90s, and he did a segment where he focused and talked about the Daleks. And it's very, very funny. It's like I said, it's just an old series, not everyone's cup of tea. But the way he saw the Daleks, you'll never see Daleks in the same way again. So I'll put this weird brief segment at the end. Bear in mind, it's an old series, so if some people are a bit sensitive, it's an old comedy. Okay, it's just for interest. So I'm just putting that out there. So. But it's just a one-off, just to share, because I think it's quite funny to watch. So next week we'll be back with Iron Man. Martin, thank you very much, and we'll catch you next week on the Solar One Sci-Fi Podcast. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
TV Awful.
Apropos of nothing, when I was a child and the Daleks were only shown in black and white, they looked to me like frightening Nazis. But then came colour television, and suddenly I could see that they were really rather florid and harmless. Indeed, there's something intrinsically effeminate about Daleks. After all, there's the skirt, the plunger that's always getting erect when other Daleks are around, the all-male bonding, the obsession with discipline. Isn't it obvious? The Daleks are gay. And this is what they seem like to me.
Exterminate! They're camp! They exterminate! And watch your backs! It's the gay Daleks!
Where have you been all day, you bitch? I have been cottaging on the heath. Did you score? No, not so much as a quick one off me plunger. But guess who I saw at the underpants section in Selfridges? Tell me. Michael Portillo? Gorgeous. Unfortunately, he is not a homo, so I ejaculated him. You vicious old queen. He had huge feet, and you know what they say about men with big feet? Yes, big shoes. Ha 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 ha. Let's go to a sauna. Pass me some KY jelly. Ooh, ooh, white wee wee. Ooh, ooh, ooh. YMCA, young man, YMCA.
Join the Gay Daleks next time when they organise a giant open-air pop-up party at Clacton and go clubbing with Jason Donovan and Terry Waite.
Young man,